Live from New York. It's the show that's a fan of Michael Crabtree.
Oh, are we?
Yeah.
Oh.
He had good hands.
Okay.
Michael Crabtree.
Let's start
First things
there.
first.
Old school receiver.
We start with the top of the NFL's top 100. Super Bowl runner-up Jalen Hurts lands at number 3. The previous year's Super Bowl runner-up Joe Burrow lands at number 6. Here's the full top 10. Patrick Mahomes, our guy, bro.
Okay, stop.
He called, you've been early.
I
on
was
that.
first, right?
You were way early.
You
It's
come
not
along.
first.
I'll let you come along.
Yep. Then Justin Jefferson, Jalen Hurts, Bosa, Kelsey, Burrow, Tyreek Hill, Josh Allen, Micah Parsons, and Chris Jones. Currently on the Chiefs, not really there. So we'll start with you, Nick. Does Jalen Hurts deserve to be ahead of Joe Burrow?
He's not better than Burrow. He's not. And listen, everybody likes Jalen Hurts, but as a general rule of thumb, what if your biggest question mark as a quarterback is your ability to consistently throw the ball, you can't be the second best quarterback in football. That's just fair. I am not anti-Jalen.
Right.
This is too much, though. And this is, and we'll get to it more with the Brock Purdy stuff, fruit of that same quarterback wins poisonous tree, which is, well, he was the one of the last 2 quarterbacks remaining. He was in the Super Bowl, so he must be the second best. Yeah. And had he won that game, I guess he would have been the best. That is, it's
the whole
no.
thing
That
we're
is
doing
the
here.
point of it for the teams, and it does help to have great quarterbacks. And I do think Jalen is becoming a great quarterback, and he couldn't be trending in a better direction because the Super Bowl was the best game he's ever played.
Right.
But I do not think he's the second best quarterback in football. I think you can make a stronger argument that he's the 5th or 6th than that he's the 2nd. And, I had him when I was doing it, I think 4th. And so, no, I just don't. He shouldn't be ahead of Joe Burrow.
Well, you said some smart stuff there. One, you mentioned consistently throw the football.
Yeah.
Now, last year he showed great improvement. His accuracy and everything was much better. But it's 1 year, and that's why I say, if you want to argue that Jalen Hurts had a better year last year overall, because obviously he ran the football for 13 touchdowns, overall than Joe Burrow, okay, you might have an argument there. If you want to say by the end of this season coming up, he'll be viewed higher than Burrow,
maybe
with Burrow injured, okay, maybe that's an argument. But right now, based on what we've seen, he's done it for 1 year. Okay, and Burrow has done it for 2 years, and that is huge. And Burrow, remember, has played with a poor. Last year they were ranked 28th offensive line in the league by Pro Football Focus. Guess what the Philadelphia Eagles are ranked?
I'm going to guess one.
Number 1.
Yeah.
Right. So that is a huge thing. And as much as Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts and even Josh Allen, even Daniel Jones, they're changing the way the positions played. Like, now we're a little more open than ever to a quarterback running a good amount of times. It still comes down to passing the
And
football.
that's why, by the way, that's why the
comes down
Super Bowl is considered the best game he's ever played.
Because
of
he
how
threw for
threw the
300
ball.
yards.
Yeah,
exactly. And he ran for 72.
Yeah.
So that's
3
the
touchdowns.
combination. But yeah, you're right about that. So no, with the Joneses or Burrow's done it for 2 years. He's got a worse offensive line. He's doing it. And he passes better right now.
All right, here's the tale of the tape last season, Burrow versus Jalen Hurts. So, Burrow's got the advantage here in most every category. A little bit better passer rating for Jalen Hurts. But then when you add the rushing statistics in here, running for 50 yards a game, he has 13 rushing TDs. Still, Burrow would have overall more TDs.
Barely.
The other thing that we're not discussing, we're kind of just letting slide here, is the 6 interceptions. It's like you only threw 6 interceptions. It's like, well, you took care of the ball, and then we just move on. It was a huge part of his game, led to a lot of wins. So
that's all true. And again, I think there is a very different discussion between rank the quarterbacks according to how good they were last season and rank the quarterbacks. Jared Goff last year was better than Dak Prescott. Jared Goff is not better than Dak Prescott.
He's pretty good.
I know you're a big Goff guy, so maybe I shouldn't have even used him as the example. But there are guys who have up or down years.
Right.
That does not instantly mean last year's quarterback rankings are the quarterback rankings. And that's across all sports. And for the reason the quarterback wins thing can irritate me is because the Eagles are a unquestioned better roster than Cincinnati 2 through 53.
Right.
And it's not, and it'd be one thing if the Eagles achieved at the super high level and Cincinnati did nothing. The Eagles lost to a team in the Super Bowl by 3 points. That the Bengals lost to a team by 3 points one round before. I think the Bengals have better receivers, but it is very close.
Oh, it's very incredibly close.
The Eagles have the better running game, the better offensive line, and while the Bengals have a good last year had a good defense, I believe, and I think everybody believes, the Eagles had the better defense. So it was just the degree of difficulty was higher for Burrow. I just think Burrow's a better player.
And it's a lot like, too, when we discuss, like, say, top 7 players in the NBA. After you get past 2 or 3, it kind of revolves every year. It's going to be a little bit different. Mahomes is number 1, period, and it'll be that way for several years. After that, 2, maybe 3 through 6 or 7 will be different maybe every year based on what a guy did this previous season.
Okay. I just don't think Jalen Hurts should be penalized because he's got a good offensive line.
It's
not his fault.
So you're fine with him being
Well, I look at
ahead
this
of Burrow?
top 10 list, and there's 4 Chiefs on here, but Tyreek used to be a Chief. But there was a point where Mahomes was playing with, himself included, 4 top 10 guys. We're never like, well, he's got all the.
They only had 3 guys in the top 100.
Yeah, but those just for the
top 10.
But hold on. But that was, by the way, used against him. That absolutely was. Mahomes was number 8 on this list last year. Mahomes was, the year after he won MVP, was number 4 there. So it absolutely has been, and I think one of the reasons Mahomes right now has ascended to a level above everybody else is because Tyreek left and they had this level of success. I do believe.
By the numbers, only Steve Young, Joe Montana, and Jalen Hurts, 370 combined yards, 4 touchdowns.
I got to ask you this.
Yeah.
Is this an actual Chief getting something on the board?
No, because
I mean, this really could be.
No, because when Chris Jones has been a Chief long enough, you're in so many Super Bowls. I assume what he's saying is the best, literally the best performance he's seen the quarterback going against him. So he's better than Brady, better than Jimmy Garoppolo.
That's what you think he meant?
Because, well, he's not watching Mahomes. He's on the sideline studying film. Guys, listen, this is, I thought Jalen was excellent in that game, but this is much like the divisional round against the Bills, where people were so amazed by what the losing quarterback did, they didn't stop and say, wasn't even the best quarterback on the field that day. Patrick Mahomes, in this Super Bowl, down 10 at halftime, had a perfect, not just second half, he missed, according to the smart folks that track every throw, he threw the ball 27 times, missed 1. Turned the ball over 0 times. In the second half, given where they got the ball, there were 230 yards total the Chiefs could gain in the second half. Mm-hmm. They gained 229 because they kneeled at the 1 to kill the clock. Every yard possible to be had against what was considered the best defense in football, forget the fact that he was injured, was had. And again, I'm not trying to troll Jalen Hurts, but the game also flipped on a Jalen Hurts massive unforced error. You can't say he was the best quarterback in the game when he's the quarterback who had the ball, dropped it, and it led to a touchdown for the other team when the other guy makes no mistakes. And the biggest, Jalen was a better runner throughout the game, but the single most impactful run of the game was the Mahomes 26-yard or 24-yard scramble that put them in the field goal range for the game winning.
You hit it on the head when you brought up the fumble, and Nick Bolton returned 36 yards for a touchdown. That changed the game. I could argue, take that away, and I could argue that Hurts played better than Mahomes. Then you could argue it was one of the greatest performances. But there is no way it can be the best performance when his unforced error, he didn't get forced to fumble. I mean, the defender was closing on him, but he dropped the ball. They were up 14-7 in the second quarter. If they score on that possession and they're up 21-7, it's a whole different ball game. And instead, Nick Bolton picks up the fumble, races 36 yards for a touchdown, and now it's 14-all. Wow. And so, and even if you want to say, well, the Eagles still obviously had a chance to win well after that, the fact is he made a critical error that may have cost him the game. So you can't have been the best player on the floor or on the court, on the field.
Also, like, just take Mahomes' performance in a vacuum. He had a 131 rating, which was the highest rating in a Super Bowl victory in more than 20 years. He completed 78% of his passes, which was the second highest completion percentage in a Super Bowl victory in the last decade. I think, or in the last 15 years, I think only Breeze had more. The total QBR, which I'm not a huge fan of, the ESPN created that stat, it's the highest in a Super Bowl ever. And he did it in a game they were trailing. He had to be perfect in, while injured, against a team whose biggest strength all year was their pass rush. Yeah. And so, and while everyone's talking about the field as if it only impacted not only one team, but one side of the ball, their defense, Mahomes is out there running for his life and found a way to keep his footing. And so I think it was because the total passing yard numbers are low.
Yeah, what did he throw for?
I think he threw for 182 and then ran for another, I think, 50, or maybe it was 40. But again, he had very limited possessions. They went because of the fumble return, and because remember the story was how long those Eagle possessions were, and so he missed one throw the entire football.
You wouldn't say that. You're not trying to say Mahomes had the best.
No, I don't think he had the best.
There have been tremendous, even since Chris Jones been alive. All right, I mean, Tom Brady to come back against Atlanta and all that.
You guys don't like comebacks.
That was pretty good.
No. You don't like
I love comebacks.
What do you mean? Hold on. Why were they down 28-3?
Was it a 4?
He threw a pick 6.
But he didn't throw 4 first quarter interceptions.
You guys don't like comebacks.
You don't like
why were you down 20? Why were you down 25?
I don't know. Why do you like Patrick Mahomes threw for 180 yards but won the game?
No.
Because you know why? Because you like quarterback wins.
I was about to say that I think Brady, because I like comebacks. I like guys that overcome adversity, even if it's of their own doing. I think Brady's 28-3 comeback's one of the greatest. Nobody thinks of it because it was a blowout, but Steve Young's performance against the Chargers and Montana. No, I don't think Mahomes. I'm not at all arguing it's the greatest quarterback
some great
performance ever.
A 4-touchdown game.
But it was. I don't think Hurts was on the top 10 of the
If he doesn't make that fumble,
then maybe
that's a big if. Then that's a huge performance.
Yeah.
But you can't erase that. You got to win it. But that play may have cost them the game.
One of the best quarterback performances ever in a Super Bowl was in a loss. Brady against the Eagles. That was an all-time performance in a loss, and I think this was a really good performance.
Brady dropped the ball there, though.
And Brady fumbled it at the end. Yeah.
We also missed a catch, so that's what.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
So yeah. All right, coming in at number. That's your Super Bowl wrap up in August. Coming in at number 1, the namesake of Mahomes Mountain, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Nick, can anyone dethrone Brew's favorite guy?
No. I mean, this is.
You're welcome.
So, by the way, the NFL Network's been doing this list a dozen years. Shout out to them. Appreciate the content. It's a good. I mean, it's an okay list, but it's good content.
It's the players.
The Brady is the only guy prior to this to be number 1 multiple times. Brady was number 1 4 times. Brady was number 1 the first year they did in 2011, back-to-back in 16 and 17, and last year. Brady was number 1, which was odd, but he was. So Mahomes now is the second guy to be number 1 twice. The answer to this question is not anytime soon. Meaning, Mahomes has lapped the field to a degree that even if, and it seems unfathomable, but even if Mahomes had a mediocre season and one of these guys was awesome, I still think we'd go into next year saying Mahomes the best quarterback, just had a down year. I think Mahomes would have to be worse than someone who's right on his heels in consecutive seasons. Or like 2 out of 3 seasons. I think he now has a grace period, if you will, of everyone knows he's the best.
I disagree. Now, I think in reality, he's the best quarterback and he will be best player for the next several years. But on this list, if he has that mediocre year you're talking about, or even if they have a good year and say get beat in the second game of the playoffs, and Jalen Hurts and the Eagles win. If Hurts has a great year and the Eagles win the Super Bowl, you don't think he's going to be number 1 on this list next year? Now, he won't be the best quarterback. Mahomes is the best, period, for the next maybe decade. But Jalen Hurts would be number 1. How was Mahomes 8 last year?
Well, because remember last year people were talking about the defenses figuring him out all year long, and then he had the bad playoff game.
Yeah.
But it was still ridiculous for him to be 8, even if you want to argue he's not 1.
Listen, I obviously agree.
And so I think this list is Lamar Jackson was number one a few years ago. Now he's in the 70s. Like, this list changes
Very
quickly.
fickle.
That's my point. It's not in reality. No, Mahomes will not give up the throne. But on this list by the players, oh yeah, whoever has if somebody else wins MVP and Mahomes again they don't reach the Super Bowl or he's not the MVP. The MVP quarterback or Super Bowl winning quarterback could be number one.
We'll give you a little bit of everything. You get a Super Bowl review. You get next year's list. Tune in next year. Find out Chapter 2.
Watch that. Mark my words.
Next year.
Dusty, mark them down.
Dusty,
Mark them down. Hey, guess
Year
what
from
we
now.
have next, Wildes? Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.